Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another My Bourbon Journey Tuesday night live stream. Really excited to do tonight's live. The guest, as you guys all probably know, I'll introduce Richard here in a minute. But I wanted to say hi to a few of you guys. Thanks for being in here tonight. And again, this kind of falls within the category for me of some discovery of a newer brand to me or to us that is doing some absolutely amazing things. But more aside from the whiskey, I wanted to introduce you guys, directly, to Richard, who is the owner, founder of Art of the Spirits. He's doing some wonderful things. And again, like I mentioned, outside of just the whiskey, he's got a major connection on the military side, and I wanted him to share, that side, that passion for that he has, why he does that, his involvement with everything. We'll talk about the artwork, the whiskey, really everything about that. So it's one of those things where we're gonna have to cover a lot of stuff in a relatively short period of time, but it's gonna be, I think, a really, really fun live stream tonight. And again, you're going to get kind of slightly introduced. If you're not familiar with Art of the Spirits, I think you're going to want to very quickly. So we'll get going here, but let me say hi to a couple guys that were in here first. So we had Top Dog was in right away. Mr. Mark Schwartz, good to see you. GT Mustang, good to see you, bud. Dougie H, Mark's there. Truman's there. Dunny's there. Paul P's there. Slapshot's there. Good to see you. Sergey, my man, I figured you'd be tuning in. Nate Cox. And if you guys have any questions for myself or Richard tonight, feel free to drop them in there. I'll monitor that. If he doesn't see it, I'll try to highlight that and get that answered for you guys. So what else we got? Forlorn Hope, good to see you. Mr. Roy R. Does Cocktails, good to see you. Mr. Nate Cox, good to see you, buddy. Mr. Prince, good to see you, bud. Dave Vogelsong, good to see you, bud. All right, so without further ado, let me bring in Richard here, and we'll kind of get going. But I'm gonna let him again maybe share right away a little bit of info about himself, and kind of get into all of that. We'll talk about some of the whiskey, really everything tonight. So let me bring in Richard, and we will get the night going. Richard, how are you doing?
Good, Scott. How you doing?
Not too bad.
Not too bad.
Hopefully you guys aren't hearing a little bit of a reverb. If you are, I apologize. I'll probably be muting my mic, letting Richard kind of talk a little bit. But I apologize if it's echoey to you guys. So let's do this. Richard, if you don't mind, I know that I'll let him kind of share a little bit about right now, and kind of explain a little bit of his whole background and share a little bit. If you don't mind, maybe give everybody a little piece of yourself and share some gratitude.
Yeah, definitely. Well, my name is Richard Paul. I'm the founder of Art of the Spirits, and we're out of Colorado Springs, Colorado. So we specialize just in cask strength barrel picks. This is our speakeasy that we're building out. So we have a grand opening here September 30th, and all around the top of the wall is all the barrel picks that we've done in the past. So, like you said, we have a connection with the military. We are commissioned by 10th Special Forces, Navy SEALs, the United States Marines, the Air Force, and the 75th Ranger Regiment has commissioned us now, and the police has also commissioned us. So we'll be working on commemoratives for them. But the bigger mission we have with that is I take every barrel pick we drop in the states that we drop these barrel picks, we take a veteran out in those states and go to Costco and fill up a whole cart of groceries. Or we buy them tires or anything they really need. That's a big part of our mission. All my family members are in the service, and I have so many, brothers and sisters that served, and so it's a big part of our mission. Um, but the biggest question I always get is how I got started. So I'll answer that question for you guys. So I started this back in 2014. Many years ago, I used to work for the artist that I showcase. His name is David Yule, and he is licensed by Harley Davidson since 1993. So David does real vintage oil paintings from the 1930s and 20s. Um, and so I was traveling around the country. Did I lose you, Scott? There you go. I was traveling around this country with David, selling his paintings and apparel, and it was just an amazing experience. And so we were doing things with Harley Davidson and wine bottles. I mean, the wine bottles never made it into liquor stores or anything. It just sold with a print. But I really loved whiskey, and it's very elegant. It's something that I knew I could get behind. And back in 2014, they said there was going to be a whiskey boom in 2018, 2019, and we all know what happened there. But I didn't release till 2016. I don't have those bottles with me. Those ones were the first ones. They were Crow to Be Kind. Let's see, actually, yeah, I don't. They're up on the wall. But they were Crow to Be Kind and Pure Elegance, and we released those two oil paintings in 2016. We sold those out in 4 months. They were $125 a bottle, and that moved us on in 2017 to Easy Elegance. We went out to Deadwood, South Dakota, and we did a photo shoot of Olivia and Alexa Jacobs, which are the daughters of Scott Jacobs. He's another licensed Harley Davidson artist. And so Daniel James, another artist I showcased, he created this oil painting. And that's what launched our Easy Elegance. And that one sold out. I didn't bring back Easy Elegance till 2021. I brought her back in a cast strength. And now we finish them in Weller, Bardstown, Buffalo Trace, Mash Bill 2 barrels, and they get offered into an Elmer T. Lee bottle. So we do exclusive barrel picks with those. And then we go into 2020 during the pandemic. I was planning a release party for Bonnie and Clyde, and I just love the story of Bonnie and Clyde. It kind of fits David's era. And Bonnie and Clyde's a whole barrel finish series for us. But in 2020, I had a speakeasy sold out in a day. We had a 5-course dinner. The bottle was coming with it. And that was supposed to be released during March of 2020. And we all know what happened then, too. So I didn't get to have that release party. So the barrel instantly sold out. So everybody got to get that first barrel. It was a 3.5-year 130 proof bourbon finished in a 12-year-old Dictator. Was the first release we ever done. Now Bonnie and Clyde is about a 7 to 8-year bourbon or rye. We finish the bourbons in Tawny Port and Ruby Port, and the ryes get finished in Madura, Tokai. We're working on sherry casks. So that's a whole barrel finish series. And then after that, that's when the military contacted me to do the 10 Special Forces commemorative. And so that's when we got with David again, and we created the originals. Which this one, it's only offered in single barrels. And then we have an 18-year Green Beret that's still active in 10th Group. He makes these boxes for us. They're Fuck Suicide boxes. And they're all handmade by him. And so we only offer these at the distillery. We're kind of working right now to get an online platform. That way you guys could get these shipped to you. But half the proceeds go to a family impacted by suicide. So these carry very special deer. We only did 36 of them to start. And so we're getting ready to launch those here for the grand opening on September 30th. and then we're working with shared pours as well to hopefully offer those boxes, just a limited amount of them.
So let me ask
So
you
let me
this:
ask you this:
why
why
whiskey, and
whiskey, and
that got
that
you
got
involved
you
in
involved in
the whiskey
the
itself?
whiskey itself?
You broke up again, Scott. What'd you say?
So as far
So
as
as
whiskey,
far as whiskey,
why did you get
why
into
did you
whiskey?
get into whiskey?
How did you get
How
into
did you get
whiskey?
into whiskey?
You know why whiskey? Because whiskey's so elegant. I like it better than any other spirit, and getting in the start. I met with many Colorado different distilleries of who I was going to work with, um, and I just really couldn't find really the right one. But we made it happen, and the first ones how we got started was we took MGP distillate and aged it in 30-gallon char number 4 barrels, and that's kind of what started the journey. But I just love whiskey. There's so much depth to it. There's so much elegance to it. It's a lot like the paintings we do, and so many stories and memories get shared over whiskey. So and now we just do cask strength. I'm more a purist. I don't like any proof down whiskey, so everything we do now is just strictly cask strength. So
You can never go
You
wrong
can never
with
go wrong with it.
All right, so
All right,
let's
so let's see.
I know that
I know that
feedback
feedback
is
is
gonna annoy
annoy
you
you
guys.
guys.
I'll try to
I'll try to
I'm gonna do more
do more
talking
talking
than
then.
so.
So
Let's
let's
go back to
let's
the
go back to
kind of the
the
very
kind of the very
beginning.
beginning.
And
Mhm.
And
all of us
all of
love
us love
whiskey,
whiskey,
but we don't
but we
start
don't
brands.
start brands.
So what
So
was
what was
to
it to
you that
you
really
that
made
really
you
made
want
you
to
want to
start a
start a
brand?
brand?
I think too. I always kind of been an entrepreneur, and this is one of the hardest industries, really to be in. And in the beginning, I knew I was creating something that no one's ever done before in this industry. So I already knew that was going to be one of the biggest challenge I ever took on in my life. And honestly, it took me years to build up the story and for people to understand us. In the beginning, I got laughed at many retailers and distributors, and now we're just crazy booked up with barrel picks, and it's a huge blessing that we are where we are today. But it took many years, but I knew the journey wasn't gonna be quick and easy. I knew it was gonna be long and steady. So, but now it's awesome. It's amazing to see when you look at the wall in here. It's amazing to see all the barrel picks we have done over the years, and like I said, just a true blessing to be where we are, and that's why I try to do the most unique and different things that kind of no one's doing in the industry. So, and that's really hard to do because there's so many great producers out there, and so many of them are doing so many amazing things, which a lot of them are my mentors, so.
So let's talk a
So
little
let's
bit
talk
about
a little bit about your
um when you're
when you're
buying
buying barrels,
trying to figure
trying to
out
figure out
what it is you
what it
want to
is
do
you
with
want to do with
those.
those.
What goes through
What
your
goes through your
mind
mind
as to
as
what
to
you're going to
what
kind of
you're going to
finish,
kind of
what you're
finish,
not,
what you're
what
not,
you want to
what you want to
release,
release, your
standard
standard
stuff, or
stuff, or
barrel,
to
for barrel
barrel,
picks?
for barrel picks.
Um,
Um,
so
so
what kind of goes through
kind
your
of goes through
mind
your
with that
mind with that
whiskey
whiskey
process?
process?
You know, I think the barrel really tells you the answer. Honestly, you don't know until you taste that barrel, really deep dive into it. I have a great team here. All of us have, different palates, so which is a great thing. But really, the barrel kind of tells you. But the one thing that's been really challenged me is the single barrel blends. We've been doing these Boo Ryes finished in Four Square rum cask, which we sent to you. Um, but these ones, sometimes with these barrels, like sometimes they'll be finishing barrels, and some will be single barrels. and the marriage they bring together is just like truly amazing. And finishing them in 4 square rum barrels, you just cannot go wrong with it. They're 12-year-old 4 square rum barrels, and they just came out phenomenal. I mean, I just can't speak much highly on them. But like I said, when we go through the barrels, we select the ones that are into our single barrel program. We don't send any barrels out that are duds. I feel like too many brands send out just basic barrels, and you don't really get a pick from any really good ones. Everything in our selection, as far as single barrel program, it has to be the top. The top is the highest quality to meet our standards, and from there, then the clients from there will hand select their barrels. But we always get like, man, all of them are just so great, but they're all different in their own little ways. But sometimes I'll throw in a dud there, depending who the client is. Sometimes we'll throw in a finishing barrel, but we haven't had anybody pick one of those, so that's a good thing.
Well, what we did is like on our end, as you guys will see, we selected basically a couple. So I'll kind of talk a little bit about this regarding as far as the Mash and Journey Whiskey Club goes. So we got some samples, thanks to a couple people out there that really on our end recommended us, to Richard. We were lucky enough that we got in touch with Richard. We talked, we kind of, went through a few things, made sure that everyone was kind of on the same page with what we all wanted to do. And fortunately we were. So what we did was, because, myself and anybody who's a whiskey enthusiast obviously wants the best whiskey we can get. So what we did was, again, we reached out to Richard. He was nice enough to send us a bunch of samples to go through, like he had mentioned before. And this was the cool part about this was, again, like I had alluded to, the whiskey is secondary. What Richard does with the military and gets them involved and does all of these special kind of events and bottles, for them, is a pretty awesome thing. We can't thank you enough for doing that and supporting the people that kind of fight for our freedom and have fought for it. So thank you from that standpoint. But the whiskey, what we ended up selecting was a couple of, we could have just continued on, but we knew we couldn't just buy every barrel. We knew we had to limit ourselves to something. So what we ended up with, to kind of give you guys an idea, like Richard had mentioned before, we have a Boo Rye that was finished in 4 square rum casks. Absolutely fantastic. The second one, and this is 1 and 1A, and it doesn't matter what order you go in, but we also have a double oaked, which is, I believe the bourbon was just shy of 8 years, roughly, give or take. Then basically put into another cask, age it further, double oak that. So we got 2 incredible whiskeys there that we're very excited about, which I have poured in front of me right now. So, from our standpoint, it was being able to introduce, you guys that are watching now, club members, all of that, to a brand that maybe you're not familiar with, but to introduce not only the whiskey, the kind of semi-personal side of that is important to me, and for people to hopefully see, understand, appreciate what all of that is. So if you guys weren't familiar, you can see I've got, on the screen below my name, you can visit, him online, check out what they're doing. They're doing some absolutely amazing things. And we're really excited for what it is that we're going to be bringing to the group. So what I wanted to do is, and I don't know if Richard has any in front of you or not, but do you have any of either the double oak or the Boo Rye, the one that was finished in 4 square?
Yeah, I have both of them. Yep.
Why don't we, if you want, why don't we just kind of talk a little bit about that? You can kind of share maybe some kind of what it is you do with that, why you decided that, you wanted to finish, either do a double oak or the the Foursquare and what it was about both of those that kind of appeals to you, and kind of just share a little bit about, you know, that side of things.
Yeah, definitely. If you want to start with the Boo Rye, these are one of my favorites. We didn't do many of these casks. Um, so this particular barrel, this one is 116 proof, which to me is like a real good money proof. I really love the 115s to 120s. Um, Nothing wrong with the 120s or above. I just think this is a good sweet spot. But this one particular is it's a single barrel blend. So we took a single barrel rye, 55% of a 95.5 7-year rye, and then we took 45% of a single barrel bourbon. We blended them together and finished them in in a Foursquare rum cask. It was a first fill of a 12-year-old Foursquare rum cask, and these ones are just truly amazing. Like I said, we didn't do many of them. The first ones, you guys are one of the first ones to get it. The first barrel that we tested on, we sent it out to San Francisco spirits competition, New York spirits competition. Both of them received a double gold, and was in the running to be in best of class. Which I was on the fence of sending it because it's just so unique, so different. No one's really doing cask strength Boo Ryes, and most brands that I've saw mostly do these like big barrel blends. You know, I find it more of a challenge to do single barrel blends than doing big barrel blends. But that's just me. We just specialize in single barrels, so I just thought it'd be really cool to do this. So you guys are one of the first ones to get a pick, and the first Air Force commemorative we're launching next month will be a Boo Rye rum finish as well. But this one you guys selected. I mean, it is honestly just truly amazing. Like, shoot, I honestly wish I'd keep this whole barrel. It's so damn good. Too, so you know, but the Boo Ryes with the Foursquare rum finish, to me, Foursquare rum is hands down the best rum in the world. Um, but I truly love their rum, and anytime I done finishes with it, so I figured we cannot go wrong. It also had toasted staves in it, um, just American oak barrel used whiskey staves is what we used, but they were toasted staves in this one, just to add a little more depth to it. But this one was finished, I believe, for 9-10 months in the Foursquare rum barrel.
Yeah, this one is, I'll tell you what, this thing is an absolute like monster. When we got into it, like Richard said, you know, we didn't have, you know, there are some Boo Ryes out there, but you know, not many, I'll say, higher quality ones. And for what it was that we were getting from him, and then to add the second layer of some of the highest quality rums with them being Foursquare, you know, was kind of a no-brainer. All of this was working extremely well together. The balance of both the bourbons and the ryes that were picking up, again, the complexity with that nice spice, and then that secondary rum with the, you know, maple molasses, you know, that kind of nice cane sugar aspect that was there. Absolutely fantastic whiskeys, and honestly, probably one of the better whiskeys that I've had like all year. So, I mean, we knew when we tried it, and it was kudos to him. And when we tried this thing, we knew like immediately that this was something that we had to try to get. And I had to convince like Richard, because the more I talked to him, the more he and I were agreeing this stuff was really good. And I'm like, I don't want you to take this barrel back from me. I'm like, now that we've selected it, please don't take it away from us. So we were happy that we were able to kind of get everything for the group. But yeah, absolute monster of a whiskey. So, you know, kudos to you on this.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you guys got it. It's going to a great home. And any of you guys listening, you get a chance to get this one. I always tell people, don't be afraid to get one as a backup, because this one is just crazy. Um, the first one we dropped was in Missouri, which that one hit double gold. It was out on the rocks, and that one was 120 proof. But all of them, they're just all unique and different. It's hard to compare the Boo Rise because they all totally unique and different. It's like so hard to compare anything to them. But to me, you get that like oak caramel, kind of like on the finish. It's a real deep finish with like peach cobbler, vanilla. I could taste the toasted staves in there, just adding a little more depth to it than when we first put them in. But yeah, they're honestly just truly amazing, and we don't really have many of them. It's not like we have a bunch sitting down. All the ones that we put out, they all got sold out instantly. So that's why I was telling Scott, like, hey, I'm gonna send you a absolute killer. So, I hope you guys take it. But you guys have a great palate. So
It was a fantastic one. We were lucky when we tried it. We knew like right away this was going to be something. Again, you when you try these great whiskeys that are like this, and you want to share them. It's not every day that you come across these different blends and finishes. And again, I feel like in the world of whiskey for us, that you guys are still a little bit of a kind of a needle in a haystack, diamond in the rough, let's call it. And there's more people that need to know about you and what it is you're doing and the whiskeys. And this stuff the whiskey within this community always seems to speak for itself. Eventually, anyone who's doing great things, great whiskey, we're all gonna eventually find out, about you as the brand. And this for me has always been the fun part of not only things that I did early on with the channel, but now with the club, is being able to hopefully introduce, your brand, your whiskey, to other people, so that others really understand that there's other great whiskey that's out there besides just the heritage brands, and you're one of them. And I hope that now with you maybe potentially hooking up with Shared Pour, that will allow you to maybe get a few other things out to some other people out there as well. So
yeah, definitely. My biggest motto is it has to be phenomenal or it doesn't even really leave this place. So I literally go through everything. Our team has to taste everything before it gets bottled. If it's not great, because you honestly don't know, who's going to buy it, or who's going to get it. I mean, we had something go viral the other day of a president getting our bottle. And this special commemorative wasn't about, a lot of people made it political, but it wasn't about that. It was, it was more about Jared Schmitz, commemorating him. He was a Marine that died in 2021 at the suicide bombing in Abbeygate. And so he's on our front label of our Devil Dogs. And, President Trump got this bottle. And, like I said, it wasn't meant to be political or anything like that, which some people took it that way. But like I said, you just truly never know who gets these bottles. I have 34-year Master Chiefs that call me of Navy SEALs, 30-year guys in SF that call me. And, you honestly, truly don't know who's going to get them. So I make everything phenomenal because, honestly, I think our military has been done wrong a lot in this industry of just kind of putting them on some basic, even low quality whiskeys, and that's a promise I made to all the SEALs and 10th group, all the veterans. I said, hey, like everything I put under this military commemorative is going to be phenomenal. If it's not, we ain't even going to release it. So If you see these on shelf, they had to buy a whole barrel to get them. So if you're in the States and you see them, I tell everybody this, I haven't had one person take this offer, but I told them, if you don't like it and it's just not, up to your standards for the price you paid, I will fully refund your money back. And I cannot get one person to do that, but like I said, everything we do has to be at the highest quality, or we don't release here. So
Yeah, and I mean, you can tell, like we knew like right away, you had whiskeys that already have good age, good finishes. What I wanted to talk a little bit about was, one of the things that I think maybe most people, like any kind of situation, we see things first, and seeing the artwork that you have on your bottles early on to you. Was that an important thing that you were going to really want? Like, did you have a image in your mind of really what you wanted to have on a bottle ever before you even put whiskey in a bottle? So like I love the artwork, and I told you this a million times, that I mean, it stands out. It stands out for all the great reasons, but you know I'm always interested and would love for you to kind of share, and you kind of touched on it a little bit early on, but I'd love, if you don't mind, maybe just kind of talk about each one of those that you at least have in front of you, and kind of what that means to you, and why you decided to put that on a bottle.
yeah, so I think, as anybody, we all kind of buy with our eyes, and especially in this industry, a lot of people tend to get fooled. And that's kind of the image in the beginning, what people thought of me, hey, yeah, he has cool labels, but how's the juice? And I'm all about the juice first before the label. And now people know, like everyone that knows what we do, they all know the top quality that we're about. But um, in the beginning, honestly, I sold everything that I own. I sold my house, uh, my motorcycle, everything to go after this. And I honestly didn't have much money to pay like a top model. So in the beginning, I hired my cousin, which she wasn't a model. She created our Crew to Be Kind and Pure Elegance labels that the artist did in oil painting. But we had an idea where we wanted to go. Um, Daniel James, the first artist I showcased, he was partners with David Yule, and he was a real vintage artist too. So, I wanted to do something that's in their era, right, of what they love to paint. Um, and so we went with some very elegant pinups. I don't have them in this lineup. The only one I do have from Daniel is Easy Elegance. Um, but like I said, we try to, it depends on each release. With Easy Elegance, I wanted to do something a little bit different, and go into Deadwood. This is at Saloon Number 10. If you've never been to Deadwood, Saloon Number 10, they have an 1890 bar there, and that's what's on this label. So we did the photo shoot there, and it was just honestly, now I probably have like guns in every label. So sometimes I get kickback because of that, but um, I honestly love them, because they're elegant, and the military ones, those are commemoratives to our military. But every release is different. I try to tackle them at a um, kind of like a strategic level of what we're doing or who we're doing it for, right? Like the Rangers came in, I want to do something just specific to them. The police came in, they want to do it for fallen police officers. So, you know, um, like I said, every bottle is different. It's just trying to figure out what we're gonna do painting wise, what type of cask strength whiskey we're gonna do in it. You know, so yeah, every one of them are different. You know what I mean? Bonnie and Clyde is just a whole barrel finish series. I kept that as it's just a a new barrel finish series that we'll continue on and just finish new barrels in. But that's kind of, every label's different, every project's different. So, and I love the aspect of that. It keeps me creative, it keeps me on my toes. And you know what, artists, you know, they come and go, and trends change. So that's why it's named Art of the Spirits, because we're going to constantly be featuring different artists. It's not always going to be the same one. I'm in the process of working with another world-renowned tattoo artist to do a tattoo edition. His name's Jared Archuleta. He's out of Pueblo, Colorado, and this guy is an absolute monster at realism. And but the challenge is how do you get, you know, from skin to bottle, you know, and it's a big challenge. And that's what I love about it, though, is it just keeps challenging me and keeping me creative, and just keep doing unique things with the whiskey, you know. But we're always going to be about the juice first before the label. So,
you know, it was one of those things where, you know, again, and that's always the fun part of some of this stuff is, you know, obviously we see so many things, then taste, you know, what it is, but, you know, to have the combination of you know, the full package with the story behind each is, you know, I think it's inviting for a lot of people, is that, you know, if you've got a great present that's wrapped nicely, I mean, it makes everything better when the present's even better, you know, inside. I mean, the full package is awesome. But let me do this. I was going to bring up just a couple of the bottles, and if you don't mind, maybe just talk a little bit about kind of what each one represents. And let's see, let me bring on, because I know there's a couple of regulars, you know, Frogman, things along those lines, and you know, just to kind of share a little bit about what that whiskey is, along with the artwork, because I'm sure, you know, in your mind, you probably want both of them to kind of collaborate, work together as some representation. So let me showcase this one first. Talk a little bit about that. Let me just unmute you here real quick. There you go.
yeah. So Frogman, last year we were commissioned by the Navy SEALs, and we did this commemorative for Swim with the Mission. They're out in New Hampshire, and we went out there and got to party with, you know, a couple hundred Navy SEALs. And I knew we had to release some absolute bangers for these guys, because, you know, these guys definitely go to hell and back for our country. And so Frogman is a single barrel. We do every time the barrel's 7.5 years, we do a 762 edition. And so Frogman is a single barrel bourbon. It's 75 corn, 21% rye, 4% malted barley from MGP. And as you guys know, not all MGP is great MGP, you know. I am truly blessed that, you know, I get our barrels from the #1 buyer of MGP in Bardstown. So the quality of these barrels is on a whole nother level than anything I ever even getting from MGP. Like, yeah, you could go directly, but you're not going to get the type of quality that he has. So these quality of single barrels are just on a totally different level. We do that same thing with the originals. But like I said, we only do barrel picks. So some of these barrels are going to be one-off. Some of them will be a single barrel double oak Frogman, which, you know, Mash and Journey got. It's a single barrel bourbon, finished in a 30-gallon char 4 double oak for 6 months. But it's still a single barrel. We still keep that. And same thing with the originals. Originals have been under that same thing, single barrel, or we done some one-off finishes, Foursquare, tonic pour. It depends. Sometimes 10th Group, they'll come in and they'll hand select their own barrels. We done a lot of barrels with those guys, so sometimes they want something different than just a single barrel. But yeah, most of the military is going to be a single barrel bourbon for the most part. But that's kind of where Frogman comes in. And the other day I just had Rick Kaiser, which is a 34-year Master Chief. He sent me a Navy SEAL flag, probably, God, I don't know, I'd say like 15 coins and priceless patches and pins. And so next to me, I have a whole American flag that has challenge coins that a veteran built for us. And it's filled up from Navy SEALs, Green Berets, Air Force, Marines, Army, police, firemen, so many priceless gifts. So every day, it motivates us to be on the mission we are on. So, and I see you pulled up Bonnie and Clyde. So yeah, Bonnie and Clyde. I love this series. They're all unique and different. This is the one you guys hand selected, the Boo Rye rum finish. That was kind of a newer series we just did this year. But like I said, the ryes are finished in Madura, and we have ryes finishing in Tokai and Sherry. And then our bourbons get finished in Ruby Port and Tawny Port. And those barrels get imported from Portugal. And the Madura gets imported from the Madura Islands. Same thing with the Tokai. Those came overseas as well. But the nice thing when they do come overseas, when you get the first fill in, they come extremely wet. They're like heavy with juice in them. But they're honestly just truly phenomenal. Foursquare, the Boo Rye rum finish, and the Ruby Port are my all-time favorite. And both of those hit double gold at New York and San Francisco this year. So those ones are like honestly my top ones that I really love. I'm so interested in the Tokai. Tokai is just kind of another monster too. And I'm kind of seeing if it'll work in a cigar blend. With the Devil Dog label, if you want to go into that one. I don't know if you have that one up, but let's see. That would be this one right here. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah, I can't. Let me get rid of this one, and I'll solo that one here real quick. And let me get rid of this.
So this one is our Devil Dog. This one commemorates Jared Schmitz. We've been doing Boo Rye cigar blends. Now, this one's truly the last one we just dropped last weekend for the weekend of 9/11. It was a Boo Rye finish in Tawny Port. We didn't go a second cast because it was so dang good. And it sold out at Clicks Wine and Spirits in Fountain. So the next Boo Rye cigar blend that I'll be releasing for the holidays, a few places will have it, and then we're talking with Shared Pours to possibly get some of this to be offered online. But this next one is a 55% of bourbon finish in Tawny Port with toasted cognac XO staves. And then it's blended with 45% single barrel rye finished in Foursquare rum cask. And this one is about 114 proof. And man, it is so phenomenal.
That thing got ridiculous.
Scott?
No, I was just saying that one. Like, I know you and I have chatted before about that cigar blend that you were talking about, and my God, that thing sounds like an absolute like beast of a whiskey.
Yeah, the biggest thing with cigar blends too, like our Megan, our director of operations, she is a cigar aficionado. She has like 6,000 cigars in her humidor. So I send everything for testing home with her. We make sure that it does pair with a cigar. So these ones have paired with like a full to medium body Maduro is what we would be pairing them with. But I think in this industry, too many people, I don't want to mention names or anything, but just say it's a cigar blend, but it really don't pair, truly with a cigar. And I sent this one out to St. Louis Bourbon Society and Lit Cigar Lounge, and they're out in St. Louis, and they're doing a Boo Rye cigar blend pick with us. And they were just absolutely blown away by it. They're like, this is just crazy that it holds up with a full body cigar. And it's just amazing. I mean, we were talking about it before we ever even blended it, you know, when I was telling you guys about it. And the marriage these two made together was just absolutely amazing. And, you know, so I would love maybe in your follows, we'll try to get something out there to get some samples to people and get their thoughts on it. But it came in about 114 proof is where that cigar blend is. So, but I know we're going to drop here some in Colorado at Total Wine, St. Louis, Bourbon Society, and Lit Cigar Lounge did the other pick. And there's another one, Payless, here in Colorado Springs that had to have a pick. And I'm trying to get one online, so that way we could kind of get them out to the holidays, you know, because it's truly a special cigar blend. It really is. I don't know if we could ever match this again. So, but I definitely want to try to get it out to kind of at least people in states that can't get it, you know, in these barrel picks. So.
Well, that'll be the fun part of being able to, you know, again, you know, take a brand like yours, you know, expose it to other people, you know, really around the country so that they really fully understand and appreciate it. A lot of the people that are in here tonight, you know, or will watch this back on the replay, you know, they're already going to be interested in great whiskey. So for them to hear a different perspective, you know, from maybe a brand that they've not heard of or not been exposed to, you know, that's the fun part of them being able to see somebody else doing some absolutely great things. And like Richard had mentioned before, the Foursquare that we did, the Boo Rye, you know, finished in the Foursquare rum casks. You know, it was just kind of like a head scratcher because the balance and the complexity of it just made it one of those whiskeys. Like, how in the world is there just so little of this, and you can't get this stuff out to the masses? I'm sure you would love to have everybody else, you know, be able to try it. I mean, that'd be the goal. And I know it would take an awful lot of barrels, but the double oak is ridiculous. I'll bring a couple other photos up here, and I'll maybe have you talk a little bit about that one. You know, the first and foremost, I think people, when they see this bottle, they think of course one thing, and I'd love for you to kind of explain, you know, why you decided to use this bottle, why this bottle was maybe kind of special, you know, to you. So I'll let you take that.
Yep, the Elmer T. Lee bottle. So, you know, what I love about this bottle is, you know, we got some really exclusive barrels from Buffalo Trace of mostly Mash Bill 2. There's a couple Mash Bill 1, and then the Weller barrels. We also got Bardstown Wheated Bourbon. So all these we hand select these single barrels to go inside these, you know, these Buffalo Trace, these Weller, these Bardstown barrels. They're all phenomenal single barrels. And so if you see one of these are like some killer ryes. Like I had so many guys that say, "Oh, I'm just not a rye guy. I don't like rye." And I always tell them, like, you haven't had a great rye, you know? And these ones, every time they taste it, they're just blown away, and they end up buying like 2-3 bottles because they're like, "I've never tried anything like this." And it's honestly like Christmas in a glass. And all the Buffalo Trace, the Weller, they just add a little more depth. It's already a great single barrel to begin with, so you really don't have to. They don't change them that much. They honestly just make them better than they already were, but they were killer single barrels to begin with. So these ryes are on average 7 to 8 years, and we don't have many of them left. So, but they all went as store picks. So you could find them like on our Find Us, usually from Missouri, Colorado, Texas. But that's why I'm working on with shared pours. That way we could do, one of these killer barrels and offer it in multiple states where it could be delivered to you. Because that's, like I said, that's the biggest challenge for me is um, we get hundreds, if not thousands, of messages on our website of where they could buy it online, and so we're getting that ready for the holidays. So we're going to be there here pretty soon. Our hope is to be up and running here in the next 2 to 3 weeks is what we're pushing for. But definitely you got to check out Mash and Journey's barrel picks. I mean, they're just absolutely phenomenal. I can't just speak highly of them. They really do. When I sent these out, I could tell their palate, and you guys definitely have just a phenomenal palate. So I really appreciate that.
Well, these, and I'm sipping on this one right now. And again, this is where we were probably limited in terms of what we wanted to select. And we've had a few ryes. We kind of talked to Richard about this, where we were at this point kind of going forward a little bit rye heavy. And this was an absolutely fantastic. So the one I've got right now is again, they're the rye that he's got aged in Buffalo Trace Mash Bill number 2 barrels, and what that extra little bit of sweetness from the bourbon did to round out that rye and kind of focus or allow it to be a little bit more candied, really spoke highly of not only the rye, but the secondary barrel, the finishing barrel that they were aging things in, and how much of an impact that truly had, because it did implement a little bit of that bourbon influence, and oftentimes with rye, it takes more from that secondary barrel to really kind of affect it a little bit. But this really, man, it was just something about it that was great. We ended up not selecting it, only, like I said before, only because we had a few other ryes coming, but there will be other things down the road. We can guarantee you guys that. So I know somebody had asked before when we were doing our release. And again, all of our stuff goes directly to everyone that's part of the Mash and Journey Whiskey Club. So if you're not part of it, get involved. If you are, you already know about kind of how all of that stuff works. But again, that's an incredible rye. Before we kind of end things, I wanted to talk a little bit about the bourbon and the double oak. As much as the Boo Rye 4-square rum cask was such a kind of an elegant whiskey, there was something very, very special, it felt like, about that about the double oak. And I would love to kind of just hear your thoughts overall on the double oak, and what it was that you kind of have done to that to kind of give it its kind of unique profile, because it's an absolute beast of a bourbon.
Yeah, so these double oaks, I didn't experiment with them, and the barrels. This is the weird thing about double oak, right? There's no TTB regulations that says you have to use a new charred American oak barrel in double oak. So a lot of brands like Woodford, they use just their other bourbons, use barrels, and they double oak it that way. To me, I wanted to go more of like a traditional route. I love char 4. Alligator char is to me like the money char. So we had an option to get 30-gallon char 4 barrels from Barrel Mill in Avon, Minnesota. They are a phenomenal cooperage, and honestly didn't know what I was going to do with them yet. So we did probably 4 single barrel bourbons with them. All of them sold out instantly when we released it. So we did another round of them, which is one of the ones you guys selected. And the double oak, I mean, it just gives so much more depth to the single barrel. Like as long as you have a great base going into this, it honestly just made it phenomenal. It only took 6 months to really finish it. But if you like more of that like oaky bourbons, that cinnamon, that caramel, these just have like an oak bomb to them. And to me, I just love that kind of type of bourbons. And I think your guys is 115.2. So like I said, it's in that like sweet money spot of a proof. Um, we had some of them get like 123, 126. But the 115, 117s have been kind of my favorite. I think the lowest one was a 110. But these double oaks are just kind of on a whole nother level, and they all are unique and different in their own way. And just like any other single barrel, they're all unique and different. But these double oaks, it's hard to even compare them because they're all kind of have their own uniqueness to them. But I love the oakiness they bring off on all of them. The one you guys selected was honestly one of my favorite ones. So when you guys were going through and we were going through the pick together, I was glad you guys picked this one. And we did one of them that's going to go on our website. This one is done for Michael Thornton, which is a Medal of Honor recipient. He's a Navy SEAL that was in Vietnam, and this guy's an absolute legend. And I've done an 18-year rye finished in Foursquare for Mike. That one sold out instantly. So we're going to offer one that's going on our website we're talking with Shared Pours to help us facilitate this. But your guys, that'll probably drop way later. Your guys is absolutely phenomenal. It's hard to pick which one, but like I said, these double oaks, I just love them. Honestly, they're one of my top favorite ones as far as the single barrel bourbons go. And we just launched this line, this double oak single barrel line, pretty much this year. It's been so new, so not a lot of people have got it. They all sold out to barrel picks, so that's why I'm trying to get it online to kind of get it to other people that aren't in those states with those barrel picks. So
Yeah, this one was when we selected it, we knew like immediately this was one. I mean, that was just it felt like it was like that kind of special of a bourbon. And I'm a huge fan of the double oak. I mean, I love that extra layer of richness that they oftentimes will add. And again, like Richard mentioned, he's hitting that thing with a char 4, alligator char. So he's really influencing that whiskey with with that char level within that barrel. So it just adds that layer of complexity and richness. And I'm a fan of oak as well. And I'll say this, it's not the one we have, and I'm guessing probably the other ones as well. It is not like over oaked. So if you're someone who doesn't necessarily enjoy a slightly heavier profile with oak, this is still going to fit in your wheelhouse. I mean, it still offers that great spice, all those chocolates, heavy caramels, things along those lines, heavy vanillas, all of that. So if it's something that you're interested in, like he had mentioned, they're going to be releasing this thing, on his website, and again, it's not only great whiskey, but it supports kind of a great cause, and that's even better. So it's just one of those things where we were really happy that we got introduced to Richard, and we have the opportunity to really go through some of these these whiskeys. As much as we want all of it or most of it, we still have to be aware of what it is we're doing with our group. And I think of the ones we talked about tonight, the Bourye finished in the Foursquare rum and the double oak bourbon are two absolutely outstanding whiskeys. And again, this is kudos to Richard and his team for the dedication and them basically being so involved in each one of these barrels and understanding what each one is giving, that you're not getting whiskeys that are either underdone or even worse, overdone. When you get something that's overdone and you lose the whiskey component, for me on anything finished, that's not really a great whiskey in my mind. But what it is he's done, he's really accenting in a very good way that whiskey that he's got. When you've got good whiskey and you're able to highlight it, even better. And he's done a fantastic job. So he deserves an awful lot of credit for this. So.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Scott. And like I've never been the one to chase medals. Like most brands, they go out and they chased all these medals, and you never know, what got really submitted, or where do you find it, or things like that. I mean, everything that I've submitted, I like people to know, hey, this is at this store, this is this pick, so this is the only year that I really ever went after medals, just to show people, like, and because most buyers in the industry want to see what kind of medals you got. I mean, some of these medal companies I'm not a fan of. Sometimes you could just pay to play. And but San Francisco and New York, those ones are truly earned. Those they really do a tight ship there. And if you earn a double gold or a gold medal, you truly earn that medal. And that's what I love about those ones. And like I said, walking away with as many medals as we did, I was just blown away. I honestly didn't expect it all. I know the top quality we do, but I didn't expect to get that many double golds and gold medals. So it's truly awesome. But honestly, it's just a testimony to the team that we have here, and our dedication just to not mass produce, because once you mass produce, you're losing all the high quality of it. That's the hardest part, because so many distributors want me to do that. They want me to mass produce and do these big blends, and that's just not what I'm about. We're strictly cask strength single barrels, and that's what I love, and that's what I'm going to continue to do. I'm not going to mass produce anything. Every barrel pick is going to be unique and different to its own, and that's the mission. But like I said, the biggest mission we're on is just giving back to our veterans, our first responders. They're the reason why we get to live free and do this. And like I said, so many of them, hundreds of, if not thousands of veterans, thank me, but honestly, I thank them, and I bring in, so many veterans that get to come in and dump barrels. I had a 21-year Air Force and Space Force veteran come dump your barrel, and we had Sergey come in, and, he came and dumped your guys' barrel for you guys. And, not many distilleries allow people to do that, if not any of them. But I bring in so many different veterans and allow them to kind of get away from the outside world and experience what we do, and like I said, it's giving back to them. That's my biggest mission. And here in this next week, I get to take another veteran out to Costco, and then I fly to Missouri, and I take another 20-year veteran. His dad was a 35-year captain, and his brother was another, I think, 22-year Army veteran. And so those are the times that honestly excite me. So if you guys have anybody that you want to nominate to us, that's how I find these veterans, is by nomination, because a lot of them don't ask for help. So sometimes it's a very challenge to even find these veterans to help. But like I said, anytime you guys want to nominate, you go on our website, you go to artspirits.com, you go to Whiskey for Vets. There's a nomination entry at the bottom. You fill that out, and my team will send it over to me, and I'll contact you, and we'll figure out what military commemorative we have coming up that we could sponsor that veteran and figure out what they need. Do they need groceries? Do their kids need clothes? What do they need? Everybody has different struggles and demons they battle with. So, we try to, that's our biggest mission here, because we were commissioned by the military for a reason. And so that's the biggest thing for me, is just really giving back to them. So.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where, I mean, that alone makes it easy for us as consumers to want to support, you as a brand. I mean, the mission, that kind of that heartfelt part of you wanting to give back to these other people, because as a business, you could simply elect to not do that, right? But that is important to you, and I think when we see that side of a business and really giving back directly and how it impacts other people, individually, that's important. A lot of us have made donations to a lot of other, really, really great causes, but when you see the direct effect from a singular side of things, it's important, and it's kind of a, it's an honor for us to be, working with you, doing these things for such great people, so, we feel, extremely, lucky to have the opportunity to do that. And by, hopefully it feels like by us doing our part, that it's giving back to, to what it is that you support, in one way or another. So it means a lot for us to be able to do that. So what I wanted to also ask you before we go is, what does kind of the future? I know you've talked a little bit about, wanting to keep this very kind of like niche, and not compromising on the quality of the whiskey, but what does the future kind of look for you? What are some of your hopes for Art of the Spirits, and kind of where you see the brand going?
Yeah, that's a great question. Like I said, we've had so many, veterans come in here. So going forward, we're being commissioned by the Air Force. So we'll have the Air Force commemorative coming up next month. And then I just had a meeting last week with Space Force, which is really big here in Colorado Springs and around the nation. And so I'll have a meeting with 5 generals that run Space Force, and we're going to figure out something for them. But they understand the mission I'm on, and like I said, the biggest thing is just giving back to the veterans in need, and so they understand that. And the nice thing is, every veteran, we commemorate different veterans, like on the side labels. Oh, this one don't, but we got one for you guys. We have the next year will be the 75th Rangers Regiment. We'll have that commemorative done for them, and they'll get the first barrel launched. But we don't do these commemoratives unless we're commissioned. I don't just think one day, hey, I'm going to do this commemorative, that commemorative. I don't do these until we come together and get commissioned to do these. And that's why I started Whiskey for Vets program, because too many nonprofit charities don't really play their part the way they should. So that's why I give back direct to the source. We find these veterans, because a lot of them that I meet, they're on the verge of suicide. If not, they were already gonna commit suicide. And I've shed a lot of tears with these veterans, and like I said, it's just a big mission for me. So going forward, it's like I said, we have a bunch of different commissions coming up. And, that's kind of where we're going to go with it. And I'll constantly just be looking at different artists. Like I said, I have a tattoo edition I'm working on, which would be really awesome. my best friend, he was a tattoo artist for 26 years. And I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. He was a great mentor of mine. Sadly, he passed during COVID. And, so he's a big part of kind of, me going as taking away the businessman and really kind of being back to an artist, and being creative. And that's just what I love about it. So honestly, sometimes in the future, I don't know what I'm going to create. Sometimes it just happens, and some special people will come into my life, and we'll create something, that I honestly never thought we'd even release. And that's why I always try to make sure the whiskey is on par with what we're doing, so.
Yeah, and that's an awesome thing. I mean, it's honestly it's a refreshing kind of perspective that you've got. I mean, you kind of, you have the freedom to kind of do what you want. No one's telling you, what you can and can't do, and it gives you the freedom and the authority to try some of these different things. All while bringing in great whiskey, trying different finishes, or just releasing just great whiskey, on its own, all while still being able to, support the military, as a whole, one way or another. So it's a really kind of refreshing thing. And, again, it makes just kind of hearing you kind of share a little bit about that, it makes me a little bit, like I'll say, proud to be able to support, a brand like yours, knowing your story and kind of who it is that you're helping kind of support with your brand. So, kudos to you and just all of the things you do. I mean, I can't say, I wish you the best, and I know you're going to do great things. You're keeping this, I think, very, focused, and it seems like, when you're focused with something, on a brand like you've got, it really reflects, obviously, in the product itself. So, congratulations on all of that.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, like I said, I'm more than honored to do these things with you guys. And we're going to take a veteran out on behalf of your guys' group. And, if you guys have anybody or any of the followers, like I said, you guys have anybody you want to nominate to us, whatever state they're in, because this one's kind of going to go more on a national level. But if there's anybody struggling, that can use some help, and in any way we can, just let us know. So like I said, the best way to reach us is on our website, and just nominate them that way. But we're still on the search for somebody for your guys' picks. So anybody you guys have, let me know.
Awesome. So thank you so much. I mean, I personally, probably on behalf of Jason as well, we appreciate you, sharing what it is, that you're doing with your brand, your whiskey, really everything that it has. So, let's do this. Why don't you kind of just share with everybody where they can find you? And I would encourage you guys all to follow Richard, check out Art of the Spirits, everything that they're doing. Make sure if you've got someone, in your life, or that of, that is affected by whatever, through military action or whatever it may be, nominate those people. That stuff is important. And again, with him giving directly back to, to them, who've sacrificed everything for us, it's important. It's an honor that there's people out there that are doing, that kind of work. And I commend you for that. But if you don't mind, can you just kind of share a little bit with everybody, where they can kind of find you, and if they can kind of reach out, where they can reach out to you at?
Yeah, best place. So our distillery's in Colorado Springs. It's off Fillmore and I-25. But if you ever want to contact me, you could do richard@artofthespirits.com is my email. You could always go on our website at artofthespirits.com and, go to contact us. We get, like I said, hundreds, if not thousands of messages on there. And but when you go to the Whiskey for Vets page, that's kind of where the nomination is, and that's where we'll receive them, review them, and then it'll get sent to me, and I'll reach out to those families, and we'll figure out what we can do. But I just encourage everybody, honestly, like if you, especially Vietnam vets, they honestly got treated like shit. Like, let's just be honest. So, Michael Thornton told me best, like, you need to get back to them more than anything. And so I truly try to, some of these Vietnam vets, I sent them on hunting trips to go, because what grocery is going to do for those guys. They're up in age. That really isn't going to matter too much for them right now. So I sent them on hunting trips with other veterans. But I just encourage everyone listening to give back to somebody. Maybe you see someone wearing a veteran's hat at dinner. Buy their dinner. Sometimes I like doing that, and it honestly just feels good to get back to those guys. And a lot of times they just never even heard thank you. But I like saying thank you in other ways, by giving them, a bottle, or bringing them in the distillery, letting them dump barrels. That's my way of giving back. So we all have different ways. But I think, us as Americans, we've seen so much high rate of suicide these days. So, check in on your military buddies, or people that that served, and just see how they're doing. Take them out for dinner one time. You never know what they're going through. So that's best I could do, is just we could all come together as Americans and be there for one another. This country's too much divided, and I think we need to come back together to what this country was built on, and help one another, instead of being so divided. So that's just my courage of that I could leave you guys with. So
well, thank you very much. I mean, I think all of us probably appreciate that, more than and again, it's from our side, to you, it's easy to want to support a brand like yours for several reasons. Most importantly, from the military side of things. So thank you for everything that it is that you do. I would encourage you guys, go check out Art of the Spirits. You can find them on Instagram, Facebook, all of those kind of normal places. And they're happy to talk to you, and just kind of, again, make sure you're nominating a fellow, vet, something along those lines. Give back. It does, like Richard said, it feels good to be able to do those things for people. So guys, thank you so much for joining tonight. Hopefully this, gives you a little idea of, and some appreciation for just some of the other brands that are out there. And again, the great whiskey, the stories, the real stories behind things. Again, it was one of the things that was kind of important to me, and why I was kind of passionate about, wanting to stay involved, I would say, so, guys, thank you so much. Richard, thank you so much for joining tonight. Stay on once we end, just stay there. Don't go away yet. But, so yeah, next Tuesday, I'm working on a little something. We'll have that coming, as well. If there's anyone who's not part of the Mash and Journey Whiskey Club, and you want great whiskeys, like this, get on board with what it is that we're doing. By supporting us, we're supporting them. It's kind of a full circle thing. So with that being said, thank you guys. Thank you to Richard. We will see you guys next Tuesday. Remember, it's about the journey and not the destination. Cheers, guys. Cheers, Richard. Thank you so much. We will see you guys next week. Cheers.